Welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live on Facebook and YouTube. My name is Dr. Dare. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we have our special guest, Earline Arnold.
Hello, yes.
Yes. And tonight we have a special show. So when you come in, click like and share this video and let us know how your week has been. How has your week been, Earline, so far?
My week has been awesome and amazing, Dr. Dare, because I choose to be that. That doesn't mean everything has
Amen.
went well. That just means that in my mindset, I'm gonna be awesome and amazing.
I hear that. All right, all right. So testing out there, y'all. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, please leave a comment so that I can make sure that it is actually I am seeing it. But I'm going to log into my phone so that I can see comments. Yes, but we will have. So our topic is Mother Earline. I have Salena, but your married name is Arnold.
Yes,
Is that
Selena is my
correct?
middle name. Selena is my middle.
Gotcha. Okay. Is advocating for her son. She will discuss her concerns about her son who suffers from mental health issues, and how Black men with mental health issues are not being treated properly in the prison system. Or that's what we will be talking about tonight. But as you come in, we'll start at 8:40. I like to give people a little bit of time to get situated and come from home. But if you're on now, please make a comment so that I can see that Facebook comments are working and that YouTube is working. But I am in Atlanta. And Earline, where are you located?
We're in Crestview, Florida.
Crestview, Florida. Okay.
Yes, the
What is that
panhandle.
near? Where
It's
is
the
that near?
it's the panhandle. It's about
Panhandle.
2 hours from Tallahassee.
Gotcha. Okay. I've never been there. I've been to Tampa.
Okay, that's 6 hours.
Okay. What other parts of Florida have I been? Miami, of course.
Oh yeah, that's 9 hours. We went
So
there.
I'm getting further and further away.
Listen, yeah, we went there the other day. Really, a few months back. It's awesome. I love Miami.
I have family in Miami, actually.
My kids do too. So we went and we saw some family, and my husband was actually able to go on a cruise for the first time. That was his first time going to Miami.
Nice. Did he like the cruise?
Oh yes, and we visited Trick Daddy restaurant as well.
Oh, cool. How was
So
that?
it was nice. It was nice. They got good food. It was the lines be wrapped around the building though.
Nice. I'm gonna have to try that out. I'm going on a cruise in April for my birthday.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Oh, I just put a comment. I'm trying to see if anybody else has.
I'm gonna see if they on their phones.
Gotcha. So I'm on my phone now, so I can see if comments are popping up.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have to turn this down.
Baby, do you have your phone on so you can see if the live is on? Because they can click that link in that in the one that we shared earlier, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you click the link in the message we shared earlier so you can see if you can get on there?
So we will have Earline sharing her story about her son. And so we will start at 8:40, but right now we're just checking in and seeing how everybody's week has been. I'm here in Atlanta. Weather is really nice today. It was cold a few weeks ago, but now it's kind of getting back. How is it there, Earline, where you are?
It is nice. It is nice. I am so pleased with the weather. I don't like being cold, so.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we have Nicole Kelly on, and she's on Facebook, so I see her comment. Yes, hey Kelly.
Hello. Like the link is right here.
So Kelly, how has your week been? And so, Earline, you're no stranger to my show, but the last time we talked was I was doing YouTube shows, and I haven't went back to that yet. Since I graduated and all of that stuff, I've been doing like this podcast and things like
Okay.
that. So I'll get back to that eventually. But that one is still out there. That was so powerful, and I think like 3,000, 4,000. I stopped checking the numbers, but
It was like 3.5 the last time that I looked into it, and we had a part 1 and a part 2. So
part two.
yeah,
Okay. I'm gonna have to go back out there and look at it and pull it back up and resend it out. But
exactly.
yeah, so what I'll do is put the link in the comments of this video so that we can connect it to. So if anybody missed those stories, that was a few years ago, they can actually go back and look at that video
Okay,
as well.
that'll be great.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, we got some comments.
Can you share the link, baby?
So Kelly, you say your day was pretty good and busy. Yours same. Like I worked all day and then I went and taught class and then I came home and jumped right on. Took a shower, jumped right on here, and here we are.
Gotcha. Straight from work. Straight from work.
Because you're an hour behind me, right? So it's 7:36 for you, Earline, right?
Yes, it's only 7:36.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
My best friend lives in Atlanta, though, and
Oh,
we
really?
stay connected. Yes, and I'm trying to make sure. I'm trying to see if my husband can send the link out and make sure she's able to get on.
Okay. Because yeah, if you go to my page, you'll see the link. And I think you should be. Let's see.
Can you see it? Do it again. Look at them. Tell them we hear them on the porch. Oh, I think you said. Hold on. Did I go off?
Well, I can't see. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Hold on. Let me put it.
There you go. Okay.
Can you see me?
No.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay. People still coming in, so I always give them 8:40.
So
there you go. There you go. Yeah. So people are just coming in. So our show tonight is. Let me go back to my little spiel. Mother Earline Salena Arnold is advocating for her son. She will discuss her concerns about her son who suffers from mental health issues and share his story. And so I see the numbers are going up. And so we will start at 8:41, 7:41 Central Time, 8:41 Eastern Time. But if you come in, please click like and share this video. We want to advocate for mental health. Everybody knows that I'm a mental health therapist. Earline's a mental health therapist, and we're in that mental health therapy field. And so we want to advocate for mental health for everyone and making sure that everybody's getting fair mental health treatment, even if they're in prison or jail or wherever. So I'm making sure. Hey, Ernest Bing, I see you watching. Oops.
What did I do to it? Oh, okay.
There you are.
I was gonna do the little account to live stream, but I'm okay.
You sure you got time?
I got time to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it says stream to your audience, so I'm trying to. I think I gotta sign up though.
Oh, for stream for
Yeah, it says stream to your live audience.
Okay.
So people can tune in.
So you can have this on your page as well.
Oh, that's what that is.
Is that what that is?
I guess.
Or you could just go live on Facebook if you.
I'm gonna say because this is new to me.
Yeah, StreamYard. The only reason I use it is because it ties like YouTube and Facebook together. So we lost Earline. There she is. Okay, I gotta add her back. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, we had lost you for a second.
Oh, I think it's because I did the account real quick.
It did.
So I'm assuming it's going live to my page. I'm not sure. It says something of that nature.
I'll check right quick on my phone. But if you're coming in now, thank you for joining the Dr. Dare Show live. We are going to be advocating for mental health treatment for people that have been in prison or jail or whichever one. And we're going to hear a story from Earline talking about her son and the journey that she's been on with mental health and the prison system. And so, we can start now. So, Earline, I'll let you take charge. I'm gonna go check and see if you are on your own page. But
Okay. Yeah, my name is Earline, and I have a son that was diagnosed at 12 years old with disruptive behavior disorder. Prior to that diagnosis, I parented him in the way that I knew. So typically, I tore him up. You know, whatever misbehavior you have, the school calling maybe 3 to 4 times out of 5 days out of the week. You know, he was disciplined. Corporal punishment was what I knew. Once I learned of his diagnosis, I studied it and I wanted to be a better parent, to give him, um, a better opportunity in this world. He was already a black man, you already got issues. So I'm like, what do I need to do? And I'm praying, I'm in church, we got him before the Lord. So long story short, I started to study human services because I couldn't work for free, so I couldn't do social work.
right,
So,
you already know.
so yeah, I became a human services specialist because of my son's issues, and um, in that, like 2 years after his diagnosis, he's on medication, but maybe 5 milligrams of Bushbar, so that he can perform in school and behave. He was a very smart kid. So, in my opinion, he was kind of like tolerated with his behavior at the elementary level because he was so smart. So, it's like looking at two different kids. His report card has straight A's, but his behavior would be the worst rating. So, in that, I I would go to the school conferences, do what we needed to do, discipline him as well, and I even would be able to go into the office and leave the door cracked a little bit and discipline him
Hmm.
because he was just that, the office knew his name. Like they knew, and they knew his issues. And I'm like, I gotta be at work. I can't keep coming over here dealing with him or whatever. So the reality of it was I did what I knew. And when I learned better, I studied it and tried to do better. But at
Hmm.
14, they direct filed my son to adult prison.
So,
I
what do you
was
mean by direct file? So people will understand
they
what that
they
means.
direct filed him as an adult. So he was no longer a 14-year-old kid in the system. They basically turned him into an adult man in the system, the state of
At
Florida.
age 14.
At age 14, he went to an adult facility.
Wow.
And it was, I believe the age range was 14 to 24. My son was incompatible. He moved to so many different prisons. My son was difficult.
Hmm.
But because they threatened to arrest me in the discipline of my son with the behaviors he displayed as his mother,
Hmm.
of course, I'm not thinking that they finna beat my son. I don't think that they're going to do what happened to him. But lo and behold, the state of Florida, or staff representative, however you want to put it, they did the same things that they wanted to arrest me for, but they did it so severely that, in my opinion, my son is just no longer a person. He's turned into an animal. He really needs his medication. When I picked him up 8 years, 4 months later out of the Department of Corrections, because they released him at 16 years old. And my son at 16 was not given a curfew or anything like that. But
Hmm.
because I was a trained Department of Juvenile Justice therapist, I had him in school. He had a job. We were in church doing all of the things that are positive and, working towards him building a better life. My son was in a GED class and all of that, but he didn't have a curfew. So because he wasn't given a curfew, even after I advocated for a curfew, I was like,
Hmm.
this is my 16-year-old son. He's my little boy. He
Right.
needs a curfew. They told me that they could not inflict a curfew on him because they had already direct filed him as a man. So they just saw him as a man.
So now he's grown
He
in the state of Florida.
exactly, in their eyes he's grown, but he's my
Okay.
16-year-old little boy. So 6 months later, he's in a car with some friends, a 22-year-old and another 16-year-old. They get pulled over, drugs, guns, and something else is found. My son don't own a car. My son don't own a gun that I know of. But my son, because he was a direct filed, basically an adult, him and the other 16-year-old went to juvenile facilities for a quick hold, and the 22-year-old went home. So, of course, I was livid about that. I didn't understand that. I was like, the least he should get is contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
Right.
But because my son is not seen as a minor by the state of Florida, they couldn't inflict that either.
Wow.
So he is given 6 years, 4 months under the minimum mandatory laws because he got in trouble within 3 years of being released.
So like that was a probationary period, I'm assuming.
Yes. So when you're released, if you get in trouble within the 3 years, you get the maximum sentence that offense carries.
Gotcha.
So my son, because of his disruptive behavior disorder, the mental illness that doesn't go away. Like when I speak about mental illnesses to people, and I studied it and developed a passion because the love I had for my son and wanting to parent him and give him the best opportunities, they don't change. It's like your eye color and your hair color. You can put something over it, or you can do something to try and maintain that, but it doesn't change.
Right.
And when my son was released, and I'm working for the Department of Juvenile Justice, I'm a trained therapist, I feel like I'm doing all the right things for my son, et cetera, et cetera. My son is in the prison system with adults and getting in trouble, like busting adult males in the head, like things that
Wow.
and I'm concerned because they're telling me, oh, well, he's not with this age group or that age group, because I'm calling the prison. I'm parenting him the best way that I can.
Right.
And the things that are coming to my knowledge, I'm like, I don't understand this. I don't understand it. But fast forward, he goes to a prison, Santa Rosa Correctional. And I went to see him, but I had a stroke at 40. I'm 45 now. So 5 years ago, I had a stroke, and my brain was foggy, and they had him behind a screen that was like like if you bleep out a face for a movie.
So it's like blurred.
Yes, it messed with my head. I couldn't really visit him like I wanted to.
Gotcha.
But that's the prison where everything began. Like my son called me, and I believe it was June 6th of 2018, I believe it was. But my son called me like 18 times and told me that they were going to kill him.
And that's the interview, kind of what we did.
Yes, sir.
That time.
Yes. And in those phone calls, I had to keep myself together, so that he wouldn't really, go off the deep end, which he was already there. But he was just telling me, Mom, they said they're going to bag me. I won't make it. Even if I go on transport, they're going to kill me on transport. It was a lot of things. And I really didn't know what to do. But I reached out to several organizations, and he got moved to the Florida State Prison. But at his stay at Santa Rosa, some House of Representatives went to check on inmates at the prison because of, rumors of the abuse, et cetera, by so many different families. My son was one of the 200 inmates that were spoke about in the video when the House of Representatives were talking, that were in confinement, beaten really badly, and just thrown down there to get well. It was no medical assistance. He told me,
and he's a kid at this time when this is going on still. Or was he 18?
I think he was 8. He may have been already 18 at that time. My timeline, I have to get it together. But he may have been an adult at that time, but a very, very recently turning adult. Like,
Gotcha.
Because right now he's 25.
He's 25 right now. Okay.
He told me he was dropped on his face with his handcuffs on a concrete slab. He said, I drowned in my blood and I came back to life, though. And when I spoke to him on a phone call, I remember it kind of vividly. I was in Kentucky helping one of my uncles, and it was 3 a.m. that a guard had let my son call me. And that's definitely not calling hours. So I guess it was somebody that really just
They
knew he
felt
needed,
care.
yes,
Yeah.
that felt sorry for him or empathy, and they allowed him to call. And he sounded like a toddler talking to me at that time.
Wow.
So when I got off that call the next day, I was letting my mom know. I was like, I'm very concerned. I think they're gonna kill my son. I'm very uncomfortable. You kind of rest because when he was out here, he was getting in fights daily and things of that nature. And I was dealing with him. But the only reason why I ever even had to call another agency to help me with my son is because they threatened to arrest me for abuse and they threatened to arrest me for neglect. So
Was this early? This was early on.
that was
So
earlier on. So when he began to not want to take his medication or stay out all times of night, things of that nature, I would call the sheriff and be like, hey, I need some help. I need y'all to help me make him take his medication. Because of course I know how to do it, but the way in which it would be done, he gonna get a whooping. So
right.
because I had done it in the past and he would go to school and they'd be like, oh, well, he can't sit down in his seat. We feel like that's excessive. I had business by DCF and all of these things, and I'm working and I'm trying to take care of my children. I don't have time. So you
Right.
try to find alternative measures and you try to reach out to them to help you with your kid, but they denied me the right to care for my kid in the way that I felt like he needed to be cared for. And I would have provided love and opportunities. They took my son minus love and opportunities and turned him into a monster. My son, in my opinion, his soul was gone when I picked him up in November,
When he
on
came
November
out
4th.
from
Yes.
the 8, was it 8 years?
It was 8 years and 4 months.
4 months. Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to recap from the beginning. So your son was diagnosed, you said, at age 12 with disruptive behavior disorder.
Yes, sir.
And so at this time, you're just the mom trying to, you thinking you didn't know about the mental health aspect of it
No.
at early on. So you were just trying to mother him, punish him when he did things that weren't appropriate for his age, and then you said at some point the state came in and reprimanded you for
Yes.
your role
Discipline. My
mom,
method of discipline.
your
Yes.
method of discipline. Okay. And then by this point you start to realize, okay, he has a mental health issue, this disruptive behavior disorder. So then you started changing your punishment methods.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then because you realize that, and this is for people out there, that when kids have mental health issues, you got to realize they're not just acting out. If they keep getting in trouble, why would you want to keep doing the same thing if you could stop yourself from doing those things? So kids get in trouble when your child is constantly in trouble. There's constantly something going on. Please get an assessment or something, because maybe there's something going on. Not saying all the time, but please be aware of that. And so from that journey, then the state jumped in. I'm around age 14.
Yes.
Okay. And
at 14, my son went to the detention center. He went on the 17th day, he was direct filed as an adult. After they told me he couldn't qualify for a youth a facility, Department of Juvenile, the treatment program where I work now. And I help a lot of kids every day. I mean, it's awesome. The design of the programs are awesome, but my son didn't even get that opportunity. And that's what we didn't understand as a family, because on my caseload at DJJ, I was servicing 18, 19-year-old boys that were given the opportunity to get themselves together. But I was the mother of a direct file 14-year-old little boy.
Couldn't get that. So basically, they said your son couldn't qualify for this program where he would have gotten proper treatment for his mental health issues. But instead, they just put him in a regular prison.
Yes. And I found out later that it was associated with his test scores, because they test the kids coming into the programs. And
so he tested high. Apparently.
Really high. He's very smart. He got his GED first time at 16 years old.
Okay.
So he's very smart. The intellect is there, but he has a mental disability, which was disruptive behavior disorder that was advanced to schizophrenia provisional when he was beaten in prison, in my opinion, and given a brain injury.
So now he has schizophrenia provisional.
Yes, sir. And he has to take medication for the rest of his life. But he's really angry about that. And he stops the medication and becomes a monster.
which makes his have episodes.
Yes, and he's in a crisis right now in our county jail.
Wow. So tell us what disruptive behavior disorder looks like for people out there who don't know. Because this
The
is what we want to give people information in case somebody's going through this right now with their child,
Absolutely.
and to advocate for your son and at the same time.
Yes. Well, for my son, the manifestation of his disability was him having erratic behavior, mood swings, not wanting to do the normal traditional things that you ask your kid to do, don't want to do the chores, don't want to clean up, don't want to help with younger kids, will mess up but not want to clean up, be out different times of the night, having fights because a person look at you too hard. And it was like everyday fighting. When he left home, he would come back, and because his skin was lighter, is basically white, I would see, like war wounds and scars where he's been fighting all the time.
Wow.
Like if someone says something, he can't take a joke, but
So
he
it's
would.
different than just the regular, because a kid who,
It's not good.
right, a kid, once they learn that, hey, I'm gonna get punished for a certain thing, if they don't have a mental health disorder, they usually stop doing the
Absolutely.
thing. But in this case, when you have disruptive behavior disorder, you can keep doing the same thing and getting consequences, and it doesn't matter. You'll
It
just
doesn't
be,
matter.
got
Yes.
it. Okay.
And that's why I resorted to medication, because mostly in our community, people don't believe in medicating kids.
They don't.
Yes. And I had an argument with my family when I decided to put him on medication, which was Buspar, which is one of the older types of ADHD medications, because disruptive behavior disorder and ADHD are very similar.
Similar.
But typically the age in which the onset happens is what they deem it disruptive behavior disorder instead of ADHD. But it's basically the same thing. And when I advocated for the medication, I had argued with my family because they were like, that boy don't need to be on no medicine. Them people, whatever. And I'm like, he can't go drink a beer to soothe his mind, or he can't go smoke no weed,
right,
or do all of these things that
those
you guys
things
do
are not going to help, right,
to aid you in your anxiety or your whatever's going on. So I have to use this medication so that he can go to school and be around other people. Because for me, he didn't need no medication because I know how to handle you. I'm not scared of you. I think people would think that I was scared of him when he finally went to prison. I would visit him because he was much bigger. He was a 14-year-old, but he was like 203 pounds, maybe about 5'9". He was about 5'9" at that time. I'm only four. I'm 4'9", so he looked it tall to me.
Gotcha.
But it was never that I was afraid of my son. It was never any of those things. One time on the phone, he asked me, he said, well, Mom, I never hit you, did I? Like somebody needed to hear him say whether or not he did or didn't. And I'm like, no. Boy, I wish you would type thing. But for me, learning that he had the mental illness, for me, it gave me a passion for mental health, and I went to study it. And I was like, okay, disruptive behavior disorder, it says the worst thing you could do is lock one of these people up. So
we talked about that earlier. It's like they feel caged, and
yes,
yeah,
and they become an animal pretty much.
Right.
And he started to deny medication while he was inside or refuse it because they would beat him up when he was late to the med cart. And he wasn't waking himself up when he was 14 when he left because he was on medication and it made him rest hard. So he wasn't, he wasn't waking himself up. So I guess they would assume he was being defiant or something, but he was like, nah, they beat me up when I'm late to the med cart, so I'm not gonna be taking no meds in here. So he just.
So then that gets in the way of the treatment.
Yes.
Like, because you got to be consistent with the medication for it to be effective.
It throws you off. Yes, sir.
Right.
So I had to deal with a lot of different things, and I would call them and ask them about him, even after he called saying that they were gonna kill him or whatever. And he told me about the molestation. He told me about how they talked to him and the things that they were doing. I was like, okay, well, what is it? What happens if this is untreated or that is untreated? I visited my mayor inside of his office. I went to see him and I said, my son doesn't have life. He's going to be released to our community. He's going to be with your kids, my kids, your grandparents, my grandparents. Like, we have got to do something to make sure that he's not released as an animal. I don't understand how they're able to treat him in this way. And we don't do anything as a community because he's gonna come back here, like he's gonna be my kid, and I couldn't get any help concerning him.
Wow. Because you knew
Um,
he needed more. He needed mental health treatment, not to be
Yes, and
thrown
right
into.
now, Dr. Dare,
Hmm.
he needs mental health treatment. My son is in the county jail. I have written our state attorney's office, and I filed paperwork to deem him incapacitated so that we can give him a shot every 30 days of his medication so that he can be a functioning human being. And they haven't got back with me concerning it, but my son is acquiring more charges while he's denying his medication in our county jail.
Wow.
So
Which will make him be in there longer because he's getting
absolutely
more charges.
no treat more charges, no treatment, no medication.
So your goal is to get him.
Mental health treatment. He needs to go to a treatment facility, a
Gotcha.
residential treatment facility, so he can have round the clock treatment and medication to help him to be a functioning human being. Because I believe it, had they left him home so that I could parent him in the ways that I deemed important and give him love and opportunities, my son would be a functioning human being right now. He would not be going through this cycle of mess and mental crises, because they basically killed my son back at Santa Rosa, and
Wow.
now I'm still having to watch this shell of a person. um he's had 7 different jobs since he's been out. He
Hmm.
You can't, but it was fast food and you can't stand too close to him. Basically a girl that I know gave him an opportunity about 4 times to work at her facility, her establishment, and he was a liability because people couldn't stand too close to him. He was like institutionalized. You can't stand too close, you can't say this, you can't say that, it was just, it
So
was
he had
ridiculous.
developed these defense mechanisms and coping skills in prison, and so he brought those out into the real
Yes,
world, and
and
so
you
it
can't do
didn't.
that.
Right, right. So he was
Yeah,
protective of himself because that's the way he was. That's why I say it was learned behavior
survival.
from the prison. Exactly. Okay.
Absolutely. So my heart goes out because I see this happen in so many different areas, and being with the Department of Juvenile Justice right now, and I have older boys like 17, 18 years old that I service right now. I'm just a testing coordinator, but I'm going back as a recreational therapist to assist them in having positive reinforcements in their life and understand how to do things positively. But my son was never given the opportunity, but he was being raised in that way once I knew. But he was stripped from my home
Wow.
and direct filed as an adult and turned into an animal after they threatened to arrest me for the similar type of behavior. I would never have beaten him to the point of that, though. It
Wow.
was never that serious. So but I understand when love is absent, and it's not your kid, and you don't have an interest in this person's life,
Right. You,
and they're basically diagnosed with that diagnosis, which is basically a butthole.
yeah, and you're getting irritated with because you
Absolutely,
don't know, and you're
exactly.
just like, oh, that's just the way he is. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna treat him in a negative way. But you
Yeah,
made a point when we were offline of you wanted people to know as a mother, you weren't trying to I forgot what you were saying. You weren't trying to
I'm
justify the behavior, but you
no, not at all. I don't justify the behavior of anyone if it's something that is criminal or something that you need to be reprimanded for. But
right,
my problem is you took him from a home that was disciplining him,
gotcha.
that was doing what needed to be done concerning him and the severity of his actions at school or wherever, and you tell me that what we did was excessive. And in your care, if you I don't know if you were able to look at the pictures and stuff, had he turned into that in my care, and that I'm talking about, that's just a
Yeah, I saw
visible
those
picture of
pictures.
what he turned
Yeah.
into. And had he turned into that in my care, I would be under somebody's jail. But
So
you
do you
guys
feel like him for him, he's a totally different person
oh,
than
absolutely, that's not my kid, that's not who they took from my house.
wow. Wow. Okay.
No. And they're denying me the right now, in my opinion. They're saying, oh well, he has rights, we can't just take his rights. But you're denying me the right to parent him now when you turned him into this monster. So as his mother, I'm looking at him and I'm telling you, he needs his medicine for the rest of his life. He doesn't understand that he needs it. He doesn't trust anything. He's schizophrenic provisional, meaning it changes. It will change. It will morph into other things with absence of medication, the absence of love and opportunities, because he's better since we got him out of prison. And this is his third year. He's
Hmm.
better, but he's not functioning without that medication.
So now he has that new diagnosis of schizophrenia
Schizophrenia,
provisional.
yes.
And what does that mean for the people out there that
Basically a split brain. It's a
okay.
split brain that with medication and treatment, proper treatment, and an environment that's conducive to growth and to help him see and trust things again, he could be better. But with that split brain and no medication, it's a monster. It's
Wow.
someone that can't think, can't make good decisions. They will, their brain just does not work properly. It's basically idle. It's idle. It's kind of like an avatar. It's kind
Gotcha.
of like being an avatar. Like, so someone can simulate or do some things and he may imitate what he sees, but it's nothing attached to his brain.
So it's almost like he's on autopilot,
Yes.
just going with the motions and not really connected.
No.
Wow. So what's happening with him now? Is he getting in? What kind of charges are? If you wanted to share that, what kind of?
It the charges that are pending is burglary. He had some girlfriends that put him out because he's difficult. They had arguments or whatever, and they put him out. But
Mhm.
he had been living at these locations, so when they put him out, him walking back in the door is a form of burglary. And
Gotcha.
him eating food after they said don't eat food is stealing. So it's some very petty stuff, in my
Right.
opinion,
Right.
because of what his mindset is and the things that he's been through. But I don't expect anybody to allow anybody to mistreat them or mishandle them in any ways. But both young ladies who have charges pending on my son were told of his mental health issues. I asked them if they had issues. Please Baker Act your boyfriend. Like, he needs to be Baker acted because he needs treatment. But they turn around and they tell me, oh, he has to agree to treatment. So with him being schizophrenic, I mean, people, for lack of a better term, being crazy, he don't
Mhm.
know that he need help. Like, he doesn't
Right.
even
For him,
understand.
that's his reality. He's
Absolutely.
okay. And what I'm hearing is the struggle, and I hear this all the time. People don't understand mental health issues.
No,
They think the person can actually control their behavior, and that is not true at all.
at
When you
all.
have a mental health issue, a severe mental health issue, your reality is different from everybody else's. Like, stuff that we think is, we know right from wrong, good and bad. For them, that may be a little off. They may not know what that is all the time, unless they get on medication sometimes and get, and it's
Medication,
consistent.
and have a respected therapist. They
Right.
have to respect the
Exactly.
person that's giving them treatment,
Giving
and
them
the person
treatment.
that's giving them treatment has to have empathy for what they've been through. Like, you have to know
Right.
the full story and understand that, oh, okay, that's why they're afraid of that, or that's why they
Yep.
have that phobia,
Yep.
or because the things that we feel like, oh, that's not that serious, it be that serious in their reality.
Yep.
And we're not, like, the world is not responsible for that. But as his mother, I'm willing to take responsibility at the level that they allow. But I feel like I'm being denied the right to advocate for my son and parent him where he needs to be parented at.
Right. And you're not making excuses for his behavior. You're here trying to advocate for him that he gets the best treatment. So I don't want anybody to take
Absolutely.
away thinking that is why you're here. You're
Oh
here
no.
advocating for your son for mental health treatment, which I understand because I'm a therapist. I know when you have a mental health illness, you're isolated because your
Absolutely.
reality is so different from everybody else's, and people don't understand. Like, you get in a relationship, the people think they understand how you're going to behave, and then that's not the case, and that's what sounds like it happened
That's
with
what
the
happens. Yes.
girls. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so that, I feel bad because I get, that's why I do mental health therapy, because
Yeah.
I understand, like, they're in their own reality. It's almost like they're trapped in a body that
Yes.
they can't really control.
Can't control. Yeah, you can't
Hmm.
control it. And you don't expect people to understand in the way that you do. But when you're open and honest and transparent, you know, about the entire journey that a person has gone through, you just expect people to have more courtesy and more empathy for the fact that, you know what, this person really does need treatment of some form. And that's all I'm saying to the state. And that's all I said when I went to the House of Representatives before he wasn't sent to prison yet. He was direct file waiting in our county jail. And I told the representatives, you know, I'm afraid that my son is going to be killed because he really doesn't have a stop button. Like it's something that goes off and it's like a blackout.
He just
And
keeps going.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And because I understood and knew the limits or what to do, and I was his mother, like from birth, I'm a person that he knows and respects and is not gonna hurt at that time, you know, but now I believe that he would, given whatever opportunity, he would probably hurt me because I don't think he understands or trusts anything, because right now he literally thinks that I don't care and that I'm not there.
Wow.
And he won't even sign paperwork for them to talk to me. He did it this year already, and I don't know how it works in Georgia, but in Florida, if they sign for you to speak on their behalf or to speak to medical or whatever, it's a once a year thing. However, for our county jail, he has to do it each time he's arrested, and
Oh, wow.
he basically is telling them it's too much paperwork. So, and it's one piece of paper that he needs to sign so that I could talk to mental health and stuff concerning his treatment or lack of medication or whatever he's doing, and he won't do it.
Wow. So
He's
it's
just
just a
telling them.
cycle
Mm-hmm.
because nobody's there to really advocate for him, and he can't
Absolutely.
even advocate for himself. So
No.
Karen had a question. She's just saying, what state do you reside in?
I'm in
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah.
Hi, Karen. I'm in Florida.
And I think your friend Sandy Brown answered her in Florida.
Thank you, bestie. Um, yeah, we all, like, my whole family has been dynamic. Like, my son has an awesome village that has loved him through these mental issues, through him being in prison, through them direct filing him. You know, my family are the reason that I'm able to push forward and raise my other children and not just lose it. My son is very loved, and we want him to know it, but being a mental health a severe mental health patient right now, he doesn't see it, and we're in prayer that, you know, the Lord just helps his mind and helps his soul, that he could just get his medication and get back into the swing of life. But if not, I just feel like he's in danger of being incarcerated for the rest of his life.
His life.
Hmm.
Because yeah, he's just adding charges, and it's just a repeating
Yes.
cycle, and nobody's advocating but you for a treatment, mental health
Oh
treatment.
no, because people really don't believe in it, you know.
I
I mean,
I hear it all
because
the time. Yeah.
because he looks normal, you know, and they feel like, oh, they're fine, you know. But a blind person, no matter how beautiful the picture is, you don't expect the blind person to see the picture, because it's
Right.
like, oh, he's blind. And you don't, it doesn't matter how beautifully composed the music is or how much time they spent on it. If the person is deaf, you don't expect them to hear it. But for whatever reason, because they look normal on the outside, but it's something broken in their brain,
Right.
people don't believe it. And he's a nice looking young man, you know.
Hmm.
People that look nice, like, we just get a bad end of the stick when it comes to our mental health. They feel like, oh, they're beautiful, they're
Yeah.
fine, like,
They
you
don't.
know.
Hmm.
No,
And
we're not fine.
right. And I see it. I've had clients where I hear their reality, and I'm like, yeah, it's different.
Very.
And they don't even see it. They
Mm-mm.
just think, hey, this is normal. And I'm, as a therapist, sitting there like in my head, like, no, it's not.
No,
But I
yeah,
get
like, no.
I get that you feel and you believe it is normal. So it breaks my heart that he's went through all of this, and I
Yeah.
understand. I'm like, you know,
And the last thing I want them to do is send my son back to prison to go through what he went through before, because, as I stated, the
mhm,
mental illness does not change. And without medication, it's only going to get worse and worse.
right,
Without medication and proper treatment, if the environment is a treatment driven, and the professionals are trained properly to deal with these mental illnesses, he can be a functioning human being. It's a saying out there now, and I actually bought some clothing that broken crayons still color. You know, and broken people can still perform. It just has, they sit differently in the environment though. is going to sit differently in that box, but
Right.
you still can take it out and color with it if you treat it in a certain manner. And when you have a passion for mental health and you really want people to be able to respect the fact that these deficiencies are deemed mental illnesses and deficiencies for a reason. It's
Right.
an affliction. It's an affliction. And if we as traditional people can just see it for what it is and act accordingly, I feel like we could just have a better world. Like with 85% of our people in prison being mentally ill people, I think we need to relook at that system and turn it into treatment facilities and stop saying, oh, well, they have rights or they need to volunteer. If you constantly see a person making these bad decisions or hurting guards or hurting themselves or hurting inmates or whatever the case may be, at some point we gotta stand up and be like, you know what, we need to help this person in the best way that we know how. And it's not to hurt them, it's to help them so that they're not hurting people around them and hurting themselves.
Right. And I was reading an article and was saying people with mental illness deserve help, not handcuffs. Yet people with mental illness are overrepresented in our nation's jails and prisons. About 2 in 5 people who are incarcerated have a history of mental illness. 37% in state and federal prisons and 44% held in local jails. This is twice the prevalence of mental illness within the overall adult population. Given these rates, America's jails and prisons have become de facto mental health providers at great cost of the well-being of that person.
Yep. And
So
the
there's
people.
statistics that, yeah, there's statistics that show that our
Yes.
prisons have a lot of people with mental health illness. I worked at a psychiatric hospital, and mainly the homeless people who were suffering mental illnesses, those were the ones. They would come into the hospital, we would stabilize them, and then put them right back out
Yes, and the
on the
thing
street.
is, they don't understand how to maintain. It's like my son. It's like he would take it for like a good 3 weeks, maybe a month, and he would be like, "I'm good. I don't need it." And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "No, you need to keep taking your medication because you're good because of the
Of the
medication."
medication, and a
And
lot of them don't like the way the medication makes them feel.
that's what he told me. And my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
I have a daughter who's Asperger, which is a social autism, and she said, "Mom, that medication is not for us. It's for y'all."
Mm.
So
To
that really
deal with
opened.
us, right?
That really
Mm-hmm.
opened my thought process up to, okay, so alternatively speaking, what is best? My son, because he becomes aggressive and will hurt himself and others, I feel like he's a person that, okay, we need to give him his medication. And when I Baker acted him one time, the judge gave me that right for him to be shot with his medication. And when he did, um I agree, Bestie. She said it's time to
Time to
rehabilitate and not
rehabilitate.
incarcerate. I know that's right.
Exactly. Right. Right.
He gave me the right to decide that my son needed his medicine, but then when upon his release, those shots are $2,500 a pop.
So you
Like
can't
who can
afford. You
afford?
could
I
barely
can't afford
afford
it.
it.
And
Yeah.
when I call Medicaid and I wait 7 hours on the phone, I finally get a representative and they tell me, "Oh, we don't have no medical for that age group, so you need to file for disability for your son," which we're in the appeals process of trying to file that for him because he used to
Okay.
get disability when he was younger before he went to prison. But I stopped it when he got his prison sentence.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're basically saying that he doesn't qualify. I'm like, this is his third appeal for the disability because I was told that's the only way that you're going to be able to be us to pay for that shot. That's $2,500 for
Wow.
him to get a shot. And the medicine that I thought he did the best on, because they've had him on several since he's been released, was Caplyta, and that
Okay.
medication was very expensive.
Wow.
Yeah,
But
so I
that's the
really.
one that worked. That was
Oh,
working the
Caplyta
best for
worked.
him.
His quality of life was awesome when he used Caplyta for. I think it
Wow.
was about 6 to 8 months that he was on Caplyta when he was in Jacksonville, and to me that was the best medication ever. His quality of life. He wasn't because Zyprexa, I believe it was, made him kind of like a
Mhm.
zombie. So he slept 23 hours out of the day. Like that's not a quality of life. That's
Right.
not
Right. You just
living.
sleeping your life away,
Absolutely. And
basically.
I wasn't okay with that. So um he was on Ambilify, and
Hmm.
Ambilify worked. It was comparable to Capilata in
Capital.
most
Okay.
areas.
Hmm.
But the Abilify, the shot to get his 30-day shot is $2,500, and we don't have that.
Wow.
We can't do it. So I'm just advocating to see, that they send my son to a treatment facility and not prison. And I'm in the process of appealing to our state attorney, as well as I filed what I could in the courts. I went to a lawyer. They want $10,000
Just to even start
to
the
even start.
process. Mhm.
Yes. So it's like, yeah, we don't have that. We don't have that. So we're just doing what we can. And all I can do is tell my story, because I was mute for a while concerning my son's story. And I was just rooting for him, just praying for him, inviting him to church, making sure he ate, making sure he took his medication. When he got his girlfriends, I try to help out in those areas as well with their kids or whatever. But my son is a statistic right
Mhm.
now. And my issue is not that I want them to see him differently than anyone else. As
Okay.
his mother, I've been denied the right to care for my child. Y'all direct filed him. You turned him into a monster, released him to me, and now he's back in your custody, and you're telling me he has rights. Um, when he's hurting other people and acquiring charges and things of that nature. Like, I feel like as his mother and what has gone on concerning my son, and because
Right.
his quality of life, and he's caged again,
Mhm.
I just don't see him coming out of prison. If they send him back to that place, I don't see him coming out. I see him hurting someone or himself.
Wow.
Um, and it's sad to think about as a
Right.
mother who has done all that you can do. Like every IEP meeting, I was there. Every hearing, I was there. They stopped giving me court dates, and I researched them and looked them up myself so that I could show up
And be
on my
there to
son's
advocate.
behalf.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I stood in open court. I stood on House of Representatives floor in Tallahassee, Florida, with the Southern Poverty Law Firm, letting them know that there are no policies and procedures to protect a young adult, a teenage boy in an adult facility. They run totally different.
Wow.
And I mean, it was ignored. They helped some kids behind him, but it didn't help him because he was already direct filed.
Direct file.
Mhm.
And when they say he has rights, that means no matter what you say, whatever he says goes.
Absolutely. He
It's
has got to volunteer for his treatment, and he has to volunteer to take his medication. And at this time, he will not sign paperwork for me to know what's going on with him.
gotcha.
And I know that he's acquiring charges just from his lawyer, because on one of his cases, my brother was able to help get him a lawyer for it, but then he acquired more from another person, and now they have attached aggravated to it, because also inside of the Department of Corrections, my son joined a gang,
Wow.
so now, because he says he's affiliated, or they see him as affiliated, all of his charges become aggravated.
Wow.
So
Gotcha.
it's crazy. and
It's
and
a
and I'm like,
cycle.
yes, and he became that in your custody is my biggest problem. And you wanted to arrest me for simple corporal punishment of my child who came from my body, and you took my child and you turned my child into a monster, and now I'm still being denied the opportunity to
To
help
help.
him have some type of quality of life.
Right. Right. Wow. Well, is there any questions out there in the audience
Wow,
that
I
anybody
agree,
has?
Karen.
Karen says the prisons and jails are not designed to help or treat people with mental health issues. The justice system seems to be only interested in housing the mentally ill, which they
Yeah,
get money for.
I was gonna say it's money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all financial. All right. Anything else you want to tell? You want everybody to know before we get
I
off the
want to
show?
just thank you. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to tell my story. I ask people, anybody that know the words of prayer, that they help us to continue to pray for my son's right mind, and that he begins to understand that we want to love him and help him as his family, but we can't do that unless he allows us to, according to the state of Florida.
Gotcha. All right. And I'll be praying for your family. And anytime you need to come back on and say more about your story, just let me know and we'll, because I do this every other Friday. So
Okay,
Anytime you feel
awesome.
like you are stuck or you're in a place where you feel like you're not being heard, you can just come back on. And again, everybody share this video, share it, share it, share it, so that maybe somebody can hear it that can kind of help.
Amen. Please help me. If anybody knows anything other that, or you hear something that I'm not doing, concerning the advocacy for my son's mental health and his right to a quality of life, please, please, please
Yeah.
reach out, because I'm willing to listen and I'm willing to try some avenues if it means that my son can have a better quality of life and live and not die.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for being on. Thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for being vulnerable, because I know that's a lot,
It's a
sharing
lot.
your family,
God turned my
private.
pain into purpose, though, and
Yes.
I'm grateful for that. So thank you for having me on, and I definitely will reach out if I need to.
All right. All right. Thank you,
Take care.
everybody. We'll give you your Friday night back, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir. Bye.
All right. Bye.